Hey guys, welcome back to some more reviews. I'm Horrorboy Forces 5, aka Nate Murphy, the Explorer 4 here. Welcome back to some more reviews. And before I get into the review, I wanted to say to Surround Sound Freak 13, who had recently made a video and tagged me in the Halloween Q&A video, which I can't wait to do. If you watch this video, man, I will do it as soon as possible, probably tomorrow, because I only have time to review this movie tonight. And tomorrow I'll do the Halloween. Hopefully, if I can remember it, I'll try to remember because I'm on the wrong turn movies right now. But I'm gonna try and remember and to do the Halloween Q&A video tomorrow, which I really can't wait to do. So and also, guys, announcement: I'm doing a response because I was involved in a tag video to Surround Sound Freak 13's Halloween Q&A tag. And he tagged me in, and I really appreciate it. You guys can check out the link to his channel in the description below. I'll give you guys a link to his channel in the description. Really cool channel. Really enjoys content. So definitely go subscribe to Surround Sound Freak 13. And so yeah, I mean, I'll be doing that tomorrow first before I do my review in Wrong Turn 5. I'll be doing the Halloween. I'll be doing a response to the Halloween Q&A tag video tomorrow before I do my review in Wrong Turn 5, and then I'll do a review for Wrong Turn 5, and then I might review Wrong Turn 6 the day after. So yeah, that's how it's going to be set up. Hopefully I can remember tomorrow to not do a review for Wrong Turn 5 until I'm done doing the response to the tag video. But yeah, so anyways, getting into the review. Today talking about Wrong Turn 4 Bloody Beginnings. Now, this came out in 2011, gets a 4.5 on IMDb, directed by Declan O'Brien, who had made Wrong Turn 3, Wrong Turn 5, and he had also made Joyride 3. I'm not really a big fan of his direction in this franchise because 3 sucked. This is decent, and it's his best movie out of this franchise, and it's just decent. It's okay. Wrong Turn 5, I said it was mad. The more and more I talk about it and the more and more I think about it, the more and more mediocre I realize that movie is. So, most likely, when I watch that movie tomorrow and I review it, because I'll do the Halloween tag response video first, and then I'll watch Wrong Turn 5, and then I'll review Wrong Turn 5 tomorrow. And I have a feeling that when I watch it, I'm not gonna like it. So, yeah, I mean, Wrong Turn 5, and if I take a step back and look at Wrong Turn 5, looking at it, it is a slasher flick, but I still feel like, it has problems. You still have not a lot of CGI, but you still get those really bad shots of CGI. There's really nothing much to the story. I get it's a slasher flick, but there really isn't much different in Wrong Turn 5. That's why Wrong Turn 6, it was disappointing, but I feel like it was disappointing because it tried to change things. I just didn't think it was a good way they changed it. And I don't remember a lot of the movie, but I remember that in Wrong Turn 6, it had the gore and everything, but it tried to change things up. It tried to make the franchise a little bit different. And I do appreciate that, but I was disappointed because, A, the death scenes really aren't as gory as Wrong Turn 4 and 5 and Wrong Turn 2. So, as far as the deaths go, they're not like tame, but they're not nearly as gory as Wrong Turn 4 and 5 and 2's, gore and stuff like that and death scenes. But Wrong Turn 6, I didn't get into the characters. I didn't get into the thing that made that movie different. I didn't get into it. I didn't get into the score. I didn't get into the way that the movie was set in a hotel. I mean, it really wasn't much of a... Because here, I really do like the setting. Wrong Turn 5 is, once again, it's a different setting. I'll give it that. But with Wrong Turn 5, because I'm getting off track with Wrong Turn 4, but Wrong Turn 5 is mediocre because it has some CGI in there. There's really not much different to the movie. It's your typical, I guess, sequel. It doesn't really have anything different to it. It doesn't change anything. It's another prequel. It has good death scenes. Doug Bradley does a good job in it. I like the idea of taking place in the town. I like the idea of taking place during the Mountain Man Festival. But those are all, even with all those things I liked, it's still not a good movie. It still has a very bland atmosphere with the way that it was shot and stuff like that. You still have dumb characters. You still have horrible actors in that film, and they all make dumb decisions. You still have that. You still have that. The fact that since the prequel, everybody gets killed off. And it's done in Wrong Turn 4, but when you get to Wrong Turn 5 and everybody gets killed off, which is a prequel, I get it, that's what happens those times. But with Wrong Turn 5, it happened again, and then with Wrong Turn 6, I'll get to Wrong Turn 6. I get to Wrong Turn 6's ending. But Wrong Turn 5, same thing happens. Everybody pretty much gets killed off. And I don't know, by Wrong Turn 5, by the time I got to Wrong Turn 5, and themes really aren't much different. It's just the death scenes are great, the gore is great. I'll give it that. Doug Bradley does a good job in the movie. I like the setting of it taking place in a town. It was different. I don't like it as much like this atmosphere and this setting. But yeah, Wrong Turn 5. I'll get to it tomorrow. I think it's a mediocre sequel. I'm gonna do a rant on it because the more and more I think about it, the more and more I look at Wrong Turn 5 and say it's a freaking mediocre, silly sequel. Not really silly, but it's mediocre because really the acting sucks. There's nothing much else to it. And I also give it this: it has nudity in there. You know, you have that, but there's really not much to Wrong Turn 5. And that's also a thing, is that there's not much to Wrong Turn 5. It's not much of a sequel. It doesn't really do not sequel, prequel. It's not much of a prequel either. It really doesn't serve. At least to me, it didn't really serve a good prequel because it really, as a prequel, didn't do anything to explain anything. At least I don't remember explaining anything. But I get these are slasher. I get these are slasher films. I get that you're not supposed to look into the details that much. But when it comes to Wrong Turn 5, there was just not much to it. It was kind of a lazy sequel. It's a mediocre sequel that the more I think about, the more I hate. So I'll get to Wrong Turn 5 tomorrow. But Wrong Turn 4, I got kind of off track talking about Wrong Turn 5 and 6, but Wrong Turn 4, Bloody Beginnings, is a flick that I think is decent. Like I said, directed by Declan O'Brien. I mean, the film, for being what it is, being a slasher flick, being the fact that I think it has a great setting, it made it very different. This was the first film in the franchise to include a different setting, you know. Well, because Wrong Turn 1, 2, and 3 they all three took place in the woods. So this movie took place still in the woods, but it's during the winter, and it gave it a good atmosphere. Now, you do have some CGI in this film, but it's not nearly as much as Wrong Turn 3. But you do have some CGI here and there. A couple of the death scenes have some CGI blood. The snow, you can tell some of the time the CGI. But the things I like about this film is, like I said, the setting, the snow, brand new atmosphere, made it fresh, made it new. And also, I like the setting taking place in an abandoned asylum. Alright, very different. And it made it have a really good atmosphere of this abandoned asylum. I think as a prequel, it explained a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit about the backstory, about the hillbillies. It didn't really explain a lot, but explained a little bit. So as far as a prequel goes, it's not really much. I mean, I can't say it's great as a prequel, but it's I don't know, as a slasher flick, I think it's decent. It's one of those films, I can watch this more than Wrong Turn 3. I can honestly sit through and watch this for the makeup effects, for the fact that you actually get practical effects in this film, the death scenes, the atmosphere, the score. I don't know. I don't really remember a lot from the score. I mean, it's kind of forgettable, honestly, the score to this movie. I still feel like Wrong Turn 1 and 2 have the best scores. After that, Wrong Turn 3's score. I hate Wrong Turn. I forgot to mention that about Wrong Turn 3. I hate the score to that movie. The music in that movie freaking sucked. I hate a Wrong Turn 3 score. This is forgettable. Wrong Turn 5 is forgettable. And Wrong Turn 6 is forgettable as well. I don't remember any other scores. Wrong Turn 2 had a great score. Wrong Turn 1 had a great score. After that, it just got kind of forgettable, you know. But Wrong Turn 4, I mean, like I said, for being what the film is, a slasher flick that takes place in an abandoned asylum, still in the woods during the winter. It was a different setting, and it's also a prequel. Not much of a prequel, but it's a prequel. I mean, it's not really much of a, like I said, not much of a prequel, but it's a prequel that isn't great. I can't say this movie's great anymore. I honestly used to say this movie was awesome. In the past, if you guys go and watch a couple of my other videos in the past, I said this movie was awesome. I really can't say it's awesome, but I could say I can watch it. I can sit through it for the gore effects, for the atmosphere, for the setting, for the look. This movie has probably, out of the Clan O'Brien's films, the best atmosphere. Wrong Turn 5 had a bleak look to it. This movie actually has a look to it. Um, Problems though, like I said, you get some CGI in there. You have a forgettable score. You have horrible acting in this movie. And apparently one of the teenagers in this film, he also plays the Three Finger character. But you have, in my opinion, just dumb characters. And you got horrible acting. With those things combined, I mean, I don't know. It as far as acting and characters go, it's got bad, horrible characters. Make some dumb decisions, and you know, and that's why I said, like, as a film, I think as a slasher flick, I think it's decent. It's not great, it really isn't. But the plot is fairly decent. I mean, the movie starts off with sort of a prequel beginning. You got this asylum, which is pretty much up and running at the beginning of the movie. It's back in the 70s. And, this doctor is giving this other psychologist a walk through the mental asylum. And they walk by Three Fingers, Sawtooth, and One Eye when they're younger. You hear a little bit about their backstory, about how Sawtooth took a rock and, like, sharpened his teeth, and how One Eye poked his eyeball out and ate it, and then how Three Finger ate his fingers, and One Eye took his eyeball out with the fork. So you hear a little bit of backstory at the beginning. Not really a lot. And then pretty much you see how they escape. They find a clothes. They pretty much get this hairpin out of the psychologist's hair because she gets too close to the cell, and they grab her and take the pin away from her hair. And they use that pin to unlock the cell, and you get some pretty good makeup effects. They get out. They release a couple of the characters. I think you have the father character, the Pa character from Wrong Turn 2 in there. I think he's like over in a different cell. I think you get that character in the beginning of the movie, the Paul character from Wrong Turn 2 in this movie. So it was cool they brought that from Wrong Turn 2. Alright, that's cool. But they get out, they get the psychologist, they do electric therapy, they shock the crap out of her head. They take one of the doctors in a freaking brutal scene where they tie a barbed wire all over his arms and stuff. And they pull him up, they raise him up, and his arms fall off and his legs fall off because they put barbed wire on his legs too. And it's practical. And no CGI during that scene. Really well done. And then you get introduced to the kids, teenagers, having sex, smoking dope, doing the typical things. They decide to go and ride snowmobiles out in the woods, and they find an abandoned asylum that takes place years after the beginning of the film. And they find this asylum, they go in because there's a storm, and while they're in there, they found out that there's 3 mutant hillbillies in there. Sawtooth, One Eye, and Three Finger. And from that point on, it's pretty much them trying to survive. It's kind of typical. They're trying to, they get picked off one by one. One guy gets like ice pick or something like that, shoved right through his nose, out of his head. One character, because they start noticing that people are dying, one character ends up getting like a barbed wire noose around her neck, and then they pull her up into this balcony because they're in this theater area. And while she's up there struggling, they try to pull her down. And I'm wondering, if the girl's up there with barbed wire like that and she's hanging by it, and they try to pull her down, wouldn't they know that would just decapitate her? So they try to pull her down. They end up cutting her head off in CGI. It falls down. They start freaking out. They had to hide in the asylum somewhere. And From there on, they try to fight back. One of the characters actually ends up getting filleted alive and fondued and stuff like that, and cut. And it's really, really good makeup effects. I will give this movie that. This movie has great special effects. The scene where the guy, and also I'll give the guy this, some decent acting in this scene where the guy is getting, this part of his arm cut off and it's getting fondued, and this guy, one of the characters even goes, "Where's some freaked up, this some messed up fondue?" It was a funny line. I'll give it that. It was a decent line. And they're like cutting pieces of skin off. The makeup effects are great. The acting did a good job. It was just such a painful scene to watch because they peel his skin off, and you see, and it's really painful to watch. He ends up getting filleted alive. I think they even they take this one tool and they stick it inside of him and they twist it and they kill him. It's basically he's being eaten alive. And then the kids try to fight back. They lock the mutants up in a cell. Then this dumb decision is made. This guy is getting ready to kill the mutants, and freaking the girl goes no. Pretty much tells him not to. He pretty much tells them that they deserve to die, and she keeps basically trying to explain to him that he doesn't have to kill them and scoop down to a little level and become a killer and kill these. I'm like, still though, they're freaking murderers, and they murdered. They've murdered I don't know how many of your friends. They murdered all these people. They ate your friend alive, but yet you say not to burn them because since it is a prequel, they really can't kill the characters off in this movie. So the guy doesn't do it. He decides to guard the cell, talks crap to the mutants. He sits down, he does a dumb decision right here. He falls asleep. Why would you fall asleep when you're right next to killers? And just so happened, they locked him back in the same cell they were in before because they find a find a hairpin in the toilet, unlock the door, they get out, they set this guy up to where he looks like a mutant. The kids are all hiding in this one room. When the teenager goes to the door, they end up stabbing him to death and killing their own friend. Stupidity, because the guy is walking all weird. And he has a mask on, or a sack, or whatever. And yet they just go over and stab him and stab him and stab him. Dumb characters. Stupid characters. The characters annoyed the crap out of me in this movie. That was one of the very bad things about this movie, was the characters, because it makes them decisions that you wonder if their thoughts are even, if they're even thinking clearly, if they have brains, if they know what knowledge is. It makes you question that with these characters. And they then try to escape. The characters then try to escape. You got a couple more death scenes where, and I guess also a girl said that since she could, maybe snowboard or something like that, snow ski down the hill, snow ski back down to get help, she ends up freezing to death. And then, so it's not really much of a death scene. And then they try to escape. One character, because they end up getting this huge drill, and they stick it to the character, and it goes right through her. Practical effects. All right, cool. They get out. Another character gets killed. Where it could have been a cool death scene if it wasn't CGI. Where the mutant takes a snowmobile, puts it on top of the girl, rims it up, and blood comes out everywhere, and it's done in CGI. I really feel like it was practical, and I think even they did that in Dead Snow, and it was practical. They did that similar death scene in Dead Snow, where he took the snowmobile, he rimmed it up, and it was practical blood. You see, it was practical, which means it was better looking than it was in here, because it was practical. It wasn't fake-looking CGI blood in this movie, like it is in this movie. In Dead Snow, it was completely practical. Then the two girls, they end up getting on the snowmobile. Mutants get the other ones. They're fighting the mutants off. They think they knocked the mutants off, and they're gonna get away and and be free. And escape the mutants. And then like a death scene, and really an ending that was sort of kind of like Wrong Turn Three's ending. Not as bad as Wrong Turn Three's ending, but it was kind of like it, where they're literally right on a snowmobile. And another thing, are they blind? Can they see? Can they see a barbed wire fencing right here, or a barbed wire thing right here? I mean, I get it. They're riding on the snowmobile. It'd be hard to see it, but they're cheering, and you think they're gonna live, and like a piece of barbed wire is right here, and it goes, and both their heads fly up and land on the ground. It was kind of funny watching it because they're like, yeah, and it was like totally out of left field. Didn't expect it. Kind of a shocking ending. I was like, oh crap, gosh dang. And then I thought about them, like, really, how could they not see the barbed wire, like, right there? I don't know how they didn't see it. And then Three Fingers comes over, picks up their heads, put it in the back of the truck, drives off, end of the film. So, I mean, Wrong Turn 4, for being a slasher flick, I think it's decent. It's not great. It's not amazing. It's definitely not as good as Wrong Turn 2 and Wrong Turn 1. But it's not as bad as Wrong Turn 5 and 3, nor is it as bad as Wrong Turn 6. But I do think that it's okay, it's alright, it's for a slasher flick. I can watch it for the death scenes and the gore, for the atmosphere, for the fact that it is a prequel, for the fact, not a great prequel, but it is a prequel. It's brand new, I'll give it that, it's a brand new idea, it's a prequel. It has a great, also, atmosphere with the abandoned asylum. Although I didn't care for the characters, I didn't care for the score, I didn't care. I mean, I hate the fact they had CGI in there, dumb character decisions, and just, I mean, it has a lot of problems. But yeah, I can still watch it and think it's decent because of the atmosphere and the fact that it takes place, and it's kind of fresh, new idea, where it takes place in a different setting in the snow and in an abandoned asylum, and the people who played the hillbillies did a good job. I mean, it's and also the death scenes are pretty good. It's practical, and but it's not a great film. It really isn't. The makeup effects are great. Death scenes are great. Um, the atmosphere and the mood, and that was good. The idea of taking place in Van Asylum was pretty cool. And also the Hillbillies did a decent job playing the Hillbillies. But the rest of the actors didn't do a good job. Dumb decisions made by the characters, forgettable score, some CGI in there, and it's kind of a lousy when you look at it prequel. When you look at it as a prequel, it's kind of lousy, kind of lazy prequel. But the movie overall, I think it's better than Wrong Turn 5. It's better than Wrong Turn 3. And it's better than Wrong Turn 6. I think it's just okay. It's not great, but for a slasher flick, I think it's okay. I think it's decent. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching my review for Wrong Turn 4, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Bye, guys.